Hello friends. In this video we'll be speaking upon the dying state of opposition in our country today. Uh, First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all the subscribers to the channel and all our viewers who've given us a very good response, and the viewership to the channel is increasing every day. So I'm really thankful to all of you, and we humbly request you to keep looking forward to our uploaded posts and videos. As I said in my last video, which I uploaded on cricket, and that video was was in Hindi. This video I'll be uploading it in English, and very soon I'll be uploading a Hindi translation for the same. So, uh, so this video is going to be upon the, as I said, upon the dying state of politics and opposition in the country today. And if we look at the topic, why do we see the opposition in the country in such a helpless state right now? What is one of the reasons which comes to your mind when you say such kind of senseless and illogical statements being coming from the opposition leaders, be it in the parliament, be it in an interview? Sometimes when I listen to the opposition leaders speaking in the parliament, or when they're giving an interview to a news channel or speaking on air, they don't make any sense. And when we see the kind of work which has been happening in the last few years, there is something known as constructive opposition. There is something called opposition for the sake of opposition. In 99% of the topics or the debates or the subjects, when you take them and you listen to the opposition leaders in our country today, you simply feel that this is just opposition for the sake of opposition. And I do not support any particular political party. Uh, I'm a neutral person. I'm just speaking in my capacity as a citizen, as a lawyer, as someone who's worked in the corporate sector, and as someone who's very widely traveled all across the globe, since I've been to more than 40 countries. And what I feel about the different parameters that have taken place uh, on various things that have taken place in the past and have been going through. And my opinion is completely independent, and I'm just saying this on sheer facts and what has happened in the last few years. And when we say that where have we reached in these last few years? In fact, it's a little funny the way I've seen a few news channels and few YouTubers and the kinds of videos they've made. And if they do not agree with the government of the hour or with the ruling party, the kind of videos they've been making just to make a sheer point. I'm not going to name anyone, but recently I came across a video from a very famous YouTuber where he compared a speech given by Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi in the parliament, and he drew a comparison. And what was funny was that he even gave marks to both the leaders on their speeches, and he, if I'm not wrong, he marked Rahul Gandhi 8 out of 10 and he marked Narendra Modi 2 out of 10. And his reason of giving 2 marks to Narendra Modi out of 10 was so laughable. And he's someone who's been followed largely by a lot of people, and a lot of people have written a lot of comments on that video, being completely misled and misinformed about most of the parameters in the country that are taking place right now. And it was very funny for me to even listen to this kind of video and see the kind of comments being written. Of course, as I said, this is everyone is entitled to his or her freedom of speech and expression in the country. Freedom of speech and expression itself is a big topic which I'll deal with in one of my videos, which will only talk about freedom of speech and expression. So this video is about the opposition and the way they are making a mockery of themselves inside the parliament as well as outside the parliament, and such a helpless state of your opposition in any uh, constitutional democracy is a very dangerous sign, and the country deserves much much better from the opposition, considering it's their responsibility to keep the ruling powers in check. So, as I said, this the YouTuber, he marked Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi, and one point why he marked uh, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi 2 out of 10 was that Mr. Narendra, according to this YouTuber, Mr. Narendra Modi was looking into his documents and speaking. And it's so funny that, and according to him, Rahul Gandhi was making sweeping statements, but he was not looking into any paper, and he was just looking somewhere else, and he was making this comment. Uh, and he cut 2 points of Rahul Gandhi because he winked or he slept in between or he did something of that sort. So that is something on which he was actually rating a speech being given in a parliament, and accordingly the audience was reacting to this kind of video. And I've seen a lot of other videos where people make sweeping comments without understanding what they're saying on social media. I genuinely feel that if you're going and writing or posting or uploading something on social media, you have a responsibility to your audience, because a lot of people are watching you, a lot of people are listening to you, and if they are misled and misinformed due to any of your acts, you take the sole responsibility of such kind of misinformation you are providing to a lot of people on social media. So, without understanding, we see sweeping statements coming from a lot of people these days, lot of journalists, that there is no freedom of speech and expression in the country. Suddenly, after 2014, the minorities are in danger, the constitution is in danger, the entire democracy is in danger, nothing is happening. And sometimes, I mean, it's so difficult to digest all this. Uh, and that is where the opposition is missing the plot, because once you start criticizing everything just for the sake of criticism and opposition just for the sake of opposition, as I said before, even if when you make a logical argument, or if you'll make something, if you'll make an argument that makes a bit of sense, people are even going to take that for granted and are not even going to listen to a logical point being made by you. So I'm just gonna give a few parameters. As I said, this is not about scoring brownie points for one political party and dismissing the other political party or the other state oppositions in various states completely. This is about sheer facts and what's been going on in the country in the last 6 to 8 years, since the time our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has come into power. So when we talk about parameters, there are various parameters on which you judge your ruling party and people who are governing you. So when we talk about a lot of things, starting from your foreign direct investment, which is your FDI inflows, inequity, FER, foreign exchange reserves, average road construction per day, number of people who've been introduced to the banking sector, number of public toilets being constructed, number of gas subsidies being given, your own credit card in the form of Rupee, a lot of stuff which is kind of transformed the lives of crores of Indians, millions of Indians in the last 6 to 8 years, which a lot of these opposition parties and these YouTubers or someone who just wants to criticize the government just for the sake of criticism, sweeping statements. We are not secular after so many years of independence, and we've lost all our credibility as a mature democracy, and everything is just happening to appease the majority community, and the minorities are under danger and nobody is looking after them, and these kind of statements, which according to me is a big surrender. This is something when you cannot win against someone in sheer development or what that person has done or that party has achieved over the last few years. You resort to these kind of statements where you are trying to distract the audiences and the citizens' attention just to what you call come back into power or win few more votes, which is not just appalling, but it is also what you call shocking to see some of the statements, because sometimes you don't realize the fact that you're not just into opposition, and when you make a statement about country at large, you are representing your country. You are being quoted in other countries. You are being quoted on other international platforms, and you are basically throwing dirt on your own country just for the sheer fact that you want to come back into power or you want to score few brownie points. And of course, this entire thing about only constructing few religious institutions, or only what you call going into fake patriotism and not addressing the core issues. This is also something which the opposition leaders and the opposition raise very often. Uh, Again, when they are not able to match the same development which has been happening in the last 6 to 8 years, and it is very important to know that yes, one is entitled to his or her opinion, but facts are facts. You cannot change facts. These kind of sweeping statements that because someone is powerful, because someone has a lot of money, he's bought everyone. He's bought the entire international media also, and what do you call because someone is doing something which has a vested interest. So because of that, uh, to completely so basically what I'm just trying to say is that uh, something like an EVM. So just because you're not able to win an election in a particular state, you start crying foul about EVM, and when you win an election in another state, then EVM is absolutely fine. But what you're not appreciating, that even in a first world country like America, each and every vote is not casted electronically. We, despite of being 1.4 billion people, have what you call developed those kind of softwares, those kind of portals, and the kind of work which has gone behind all this, be it our UPI mechanism, the kind of UPI payments which are happening every single day, things like fast tags. This is a sheer example of uh, the technology advancement and the kind of what you call transformations you're going in your system basically on various fields. And this is something which you need to acknowledge before you speak about your country on various platforms without even understanding what you're saying. So as I was saying, as I was mentioning, I'm quickly gonna discuss few what you call facts with you regarding some of the parameters which I was referring to. So the first parameter which I want to bring to your notice is our FDI inflow, which is your foreign direct investment. So it is very interesting to see that total FDI inflow in the country grew by 65.3%. That is from $266.21 billion in 2007-2014. It has come up to $440 billion in so it has come up to, as I was saying, so it has come up to 65 point. It has come up by 65.3%. So it has come up to $440 billion. And FDI equity inflow. Sorry, the statistic which I was trying to look into and clarify. your FDI equity inflow has also increased by 68.6% from 185.03 billion during 2007-14 to 312.5 billion in 2014-21. So you see there is a jump of almost 150 billion when we talk about your FDI, and there is a jump of almost, again, a similar jump of about $150 billion again when we talk about your FDI equity inflow. Similarly, there is another important statistic which you need to look into, and that is your FERs. So, which is basically your. Also, I'll just like to say one thing, that there can be a bit of an error with respect to the figures I'm quoting, which are 90% correct. But if there is an error within a small proximity, I already tell you to take that into consideration. Since I like to give my videos in this manner, so I don't have all documents in front of me, but what all I've been through, what all I've researched, I'm trying to speak from my research. So yes, as I was talking about FERs now, which is your foreign exchange reserves. So your foreign exchange reserves were roughly about $300 billion in 2014, and they have gone up to $600 billion in the last 8 years. I mean, they had crossed they had reached an all-time high of 645 billion in October 2021, and from that they have fallen down a little, and they've just gone a little below $600 billion. That is when the federal bonds hike took place in US, and to control the rupee depreciation, the government had to utilize few of our exchange reserves to make sure that we don't fall within a certain limit. So FDI has gone up by 65 to 70%, both FDI inflow and FDI equity inflow. Foreign exchange reserves gone up from $300 billion to $600 billion, which is basically your foreign exchange reserves have doubled. Now, third very important point I want to bring to your notice is your NHAI, National Highway construction per day, which was roughly about 10 to 12 kilometers a day in 2014, and it went up to 37 kilometers a day. Can you imagine? So in 2020-2021, we recorded a record construction of 37 kilometers a day in our highways. So you can imagine the kind of infrastructure push which is taking in the which is kind of taken care of in the country right now. Now, fourth very important point, when we talk about some of the schemes, one of the scheme I would like to address in this video in a very brief manner is the Swachh Bharat Mission. So over 9.5 crore toilets were built across India since the launch of your Swachh Bharat Mission, which is a very, very this is a figure which is phenomenal, because a lot of villages have been declared as ODF. So when we talk about ODF, it is outside defecation free, which again, so when we talk about this ODF figure, over 5.5 lakh villages have been declared ODF, SBM, and access of toilets to 93.1% of households, 30 states, UTs. And when we talk about ODF, which is outside defecation free, you basically, by making a village outside defecation free, you are reducing the number of deaths or any hygiene issues uh, which are taking place because of diseases like diarrhea, malaria, typhoid, a lot of other diseases which take place. And also a very important thing, if we see over here, that a lot of girls, when you have access to toilet near public schools in rural India, a lot of girls have started going to what you call their schools, which they were not able to do so because of the sheer fact that, as a feedback taken by their parents in rural India, that since their daughters do not have any access to a toilet, so it is impossible for them to send their daughters to schools. So this thing has had a drastic effect on the education of women and women empowerment, as they go hand in hand. Now, when we talk about another important thing, which is how many Indians had an access to banking facility before 2014. So it is a very important statistic. In 2011, can you imagine, only 35% Indians above the age group of 15 years, of course, had bank accounts. So when the opposition talks about Kala Dhan, ये काला धन अभी भी है, ये गया क्यों नहीं? I just have a simple question to ask over here. Where does this black money comes from? What is black money? So after more than, 2011 we're talking about, more than 60 to 65 years of an independence, and only 35% of your population has bank accounts. And then you have the audacity to keep questioning the other side. कि काला धन कहाँ है, काला धन आया नहीं, demonetization में क्या हुआ? If your entire economy is only what you call functioning in cash, which is such a shame. If you are used to functioning in cash, how do you get rid of Kala Dhan? How do you get rid of black money? How do you get rid of bribery? How do you get rid of corruption? The main thing is to go cashless, to take out the middlemen. If there are middlemen and dalals in an economy who only like to take bribes in cash, and they keep on doing so for years and years, and your system is completely rotten because of that, the Kala Dhan will stay, the corruption will stay, the bribery will stay. It is almost impossible to take care of it. So from 35% Indians in 2011, as I was saying, if you see that figure went up to 80% in 2017. And we talk about present day, it has almost reached a figure of 90%. So which means a large chunk of your population now has the access to banking. You have your own credit card portal, which is Rupee. Now just look at the effect of Rupee. Stalwarts like MasterCard and Visa actually had to go to WTO and file a complaint regarding unfair trade practice, because Rupee was killing onto their business in India, which is only happening in the Indian market. It is unseen, it is unprecedented in a lot of what you call countries and democracies and a lot of first world countries. So now I would like to again share another very important figure, which is because when these accounts were opened, a sweeping statement came from the opposition कि खाली account खोल के क्या होगा. But it is very important to know that no account is opened with crores of rupees or millions of dollars from day one. First you open an account, then money comes in that account. It is a basic thing. No rocket science. So एक तो आपने इतने टाइम तक अकाउंट खोले नहीं, कंट्री पूरी कैश में क्या कहते हैं पूरी की पूरी कैश में ऑपरेट कर रही है. जब दूसरा खोल रहा है तो आपको उससे भी परेशानी है ना. अब इसके बीच में फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन या व्हाट यू कॉल व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट डेंजर टू द माइनॉरिटीज, ये सब कहाँ आ गया? दीज अकाउंट्स, दीज पब्लिक टॉयलेट्स, दिस रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन, FDI, FER is equally benefiting the Muslims or the Christians or the Sikhs or the Parsis. They are not just benefiting the Hindus, right? They're benefiting all people of all caste and communities. It is something which is an essential need, should have taken place long time back. So this is something, these parameters, and there are a lot of parameters on which we can keep talking about, from gas subsidies to a lot of other, what you call, uh, things like the bankruptcy code, triple talaq, and I'll discuss about a lot of those topics in my other videos. And when we also see these kind of things which came into perspective only to draw someone's attention out, when we talk about a CAA, but when we talk about farm protests, was it worth it? Was CAA worth it? Was these farm protests worth it? Everybody knows, even the opposition knows, that 80 to 90% of the farmers would have benefited. Their standard of living would have improved if the farm laws would have allowed. Same with CAA. The basic, what you call, when we talk about secularism, our basic structure, the way Indians function, be it Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, anyone, in general, we are secular. We'll always stay like this. Even if Mr. Modi comes or he goes or some other leader comes, the basic sense of secularism will never go from the Indian society. We will always stay secular. When the Liaquat Ali Pact was signed between Liaquat Ali Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru, both the sides, they pledged to take care of the minorities. We promised to take care of the Muslims in our side. They pledged to take care of the Hindus and the Sikhs in their side. But unfortunately, they didn't do it. We did it. The population of minorities in Pakistan was 7% in 47. It was 7% in India. We grew up from 7% to 16 to 18%. There it fell down from 7% to 1%. In every field, we've always respected people from the minorities, different caste communities, be it actors, cricket, you name it, art, literature, what you call, painting, lyricists. You don't have our presidents, chief justices, you don't have a single field where you don't see a representation from the minority community. So it is very well seen into, it is very well what you call noted over here, that because you cannot compete with someone in shared development, you keep distracting and you keep bringing these kind of things just to, and that gives a bad name. When you keep on saying, when you keep on shouting the democracy in India is going down, people are seeing that, they're watching it. You are giving a bad name to your own country. So it is very important for the opposition to stop playing this kind of politics, because it is dangerous when the opposition goes in such what you call what do I say, irresponsible hands. When UPA 1 and UPA 2 were in power, the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha was Sushma Swaraj, the leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha were Arun Jaitley, and these were constructive minds who always used to keep the what you call, the ruling party into check. They never spoke crap in the parliament or outside. So we expect the same kind of decency and responsibility from the other opposition leaders. When you also, it has to be seen, when we talk about unemployment, or when we talk about kitna kala dhan aaya, or when we talk about what you call doklam, or when we talk about any issue, it is very important to see that what you did when you were in power. When you were in power for 50 years or 60 years, as a political party, my question is, why food, shelter and clothing are still the three main issues in this country? Why were you sleeping? Why only 35% people had bank accounts? And you keep on harping upon Kala Dhan now. Why there was no bankruptcy code in the country, a recovery mechanism? There was no recovery mechanism in this country. Why didn't you make roads? Why didn't you make railways? Where was your infrastructure push? I mean, the condition of roads till the late 90s or the early 2000s was pretty much pathetic. till the time Mr. Vajpayee came and even started doing something about it. And as I've quoted in the beginning only, if so much of FDI inflows are coming in, be it in equity and FDI inflows, and your foreign exchange reserve has gone up, ease of doing business, you've jumped up 70 to 80 positions. You were rotting at 130th, 140th position in World Bank ease of doing business ratings. You've come up to 60th position, 62nd position. So this cannot happen if your country is not growing if your country is not going in a correct direction. Of course, no party is perfect. Even the ruling party is not perfect. Your prime minister is not perfect. But that doesn't mean that you completely start making sweeping statement and dismiss any good thing which has been taking place in the country in the last 7 to 8 years. So in future, of course, I'll be uploading a lot of videos on politics. In future, I genuinely feel if the opposition wants to make a constructive point, they have their states, they have their cities which they can transform. You have a lot of cities where the ruling party and states where the ruling party is not what you call governing at this point of time. Use those, do something in those states and those cities. As per the constitution, it is very simple. You have a state list where there are state subjects, you have a union list, you have a concurrent list. So under the state list, whatever subjects you have within your jurisdiction, start working on them. Make roads in your states. Make them crime free. Create an example. The opposition ruling states, if they create an example for the states in which the central government is ruling, then they can come and talk. कि हमने हमारी स्टेट में ये किया, आपने क्या किया अपनी स्टेट में. But when you don't do anything, when you haven't done anything for so many years, for basic things, Kashmir should never been an issue. For basic things, the people of this country have suffered, and you don't let anyone else also work. And when it suits you, you bring secularism. An entire country was created. Where was our secularism in 47? The minority was so insecure. They ended up taking, Modi ji was not present in 47. The minorities, they ended up taking a country for themselves. Just imagine how insecure they would have been at that point of time. Where was your secularism back then? It is only when a country is growing and you are going down in development facts, you start talking about secularism. So as I said, I'll be talking about a lot of things. I'll be talking about the schemes and the policies of the government in detail. A lot of things which the opposition can do. Things like CAA, farmers protest, bankruptcy court. I'm also going to be analyzing elections in my next videos. I'll be sharing my opinion polls on various states, as well as the central election which is due next year. So if you like the content of this video, kindly like it, subscribe to my channel, and give me an opportunity to keep enlightening you with a lot of stuff. And thank you so much for watching our video, and we'll be looking forward to see you very soon. Thank you so much.